In the 1950s and the 1960s, I was fortunate to be one of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, or SNCC members, who took the opportunity to join in for social change in our communities. I grew up in Harlem, New York City, and had an opportunity to work there for many social issues. But in the summer of 1962, I was recruited to go down into the Deep South with the SNCC voter registration project. And prior to that, I had gone to jail in Crisfield, Maryland, when we sat in at a lunch counter in the rural part of Maryland with a group of integrated boys and girls. We were in our 16, 17, 18 at the time. And I was also a freedom rider on Route 40 in parts of North Carolina and Maryland. So as a young person, I was active in the movement and had the opportunity, of course, as many of us did, to meet and work with Dr. King, who visited many of the projects that we were involved in. As students, we believed that sometimes Dr. King moved a little too slowly for us. And now that I'm an older person myself, I understand how important it is for young people to keep pushing us older people to make changes.
My parents were always very involved in the community. My father was an activist. He was always supporting his co-workers to fight for better wages and for their rights, and he always taught us about justice and rights, and he always wanted us to succeed and be better. I was looking at my television in Long Beach in my apartment at 1175 in 1965, and that was Bloody Sunday. And I saw African Americans being beat in the street. I saw horses. I saw policemen trampling the people down in the street just because they wanted the right to vote. And being from Alabama, I had experienced segregation outside of my community, and I was well aware of some of the brutality that was being perpetrated on African Americans. When King came on the national network television that afternoon on Bloody Sunday, he asked anybody who could come down and protest all of the violence and all of the brutality that was being perpetrated on African Americans in Selma, Alabama, to come down and march with him. So I thought about it, and I was just livid, as a result of what I'd seen earlier that day. And I said, I gotta go. And when we marched four abreast, we were just fine. Everybody was happy. Everybody was excited. Everybody was exhilarated about the experience that we were having. What we did not know was that the National Guard was on the other side of that bridge waiting for us to stop us. So when we started to go again, they cocked the guns on us. They pointed the guns toward us and started, snapping the guns in place. And so Martin Luther King turned back around to us and said, he said, we're going to pray. And so we got on our knees, and he said, we're going to pray. And so we prayed. And then after we prayed, we stood back up, and he said, we're going to go to Montgomery. He said, we're not going to go tonight, but we're going to go. And so he said, I don't want to get anybody murdered, and I don't want anybody's blood running down the streets of across this bridge. He said, we're going to go back to the church, and we're going to have a service. We went back to the church, and he told us that the government, he's going to ask Lyndon Johnson, the president, to provide us with the guards to guard us and to protect us as we proceeded on with our march. A week and a half later, the guards came out and accompanied us from the march from Selma to Montgomery, and we were successful.